Hey, Shalom Israel, Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, we're going to be reading Numbers chapter 21, just picking up where I left off from last time, guys. And if you remember in the previous chapter, Numbers chapter 20, the children of Israel basically rose up against Moses and Aaron, but in actuality, they were raising up against the Lord. But you know, the children of Israel, they always think they're dealing with men. And they rebelled. They basically did the usual. You brought us into this wilderness to kill us. We ain't got no water to drink. How could you do this? And so Moses and Aaron, they went to the tabernacle. The Lord's presence came down, and he basically told Aaron, hey, I want you and your brother, take your rod, and I want you to get a rock, and I want you to speak to the rock. And water's going to come out this rock. And that's what the children of Israel is going to drink from. Well, Moses was so fed up that instead of speaking to the rock, he took his rod in front of the sight of all the people and he hit it twice. And it said much water came out. And the children of Israel and their beasts, they drank the water. However, they didn't sanctify the Lord in doing what he told them to do. So it made it look like it was them who provided Israel with this water. So making it look like men did it, and the Lord got real mad and judged Moses and Aaron and told them, listen, you're not going to take the children of Israel into the land of Canaan, into the promised land that I spoke of concerning Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that was very unfortunate. Just a few seconds of anger caused Moses and Aaron not to be able to bring the children of Israel into the promised land. And of course, our foremother Miriam, she died in that chapter. She was the oldest out of Moses and Aaron. She was the oldest sibling. So one of the three leaders had died. And then we see later in the chapter, Aaron died. He went to the top of the Mount Hor. He died. And his son Eleazar became the new high priest. And all of the children of Israel, they mourned Aaron. And so now we're picking up to where we are right now. Numbers chapter 21, and I'm going to read verse 1. And it says, and when King Arad the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. So King Arad the Canaanite, he had spies spying out Israel, and he seen that they was coming. And so he fought against them and took some of them prisoners. Verse 2, and Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. Verse 3, and the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel, even though they was being evil as hell. He still hearkened to them and delivered up the Canaanites and utterly destroyed them in their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah. And see, that is what your enemies fear, brothers and sisters. They fear you getting back into connection with your God. That's why they keep, especially the black men. That's why they keep them down, because they don't ever want them to rise up again and get reconnected with that God that they can pray and call fire down on their enemies. They fear that thing. They know that, look, the top brass of all of these nations that hold us captive, they know about this God of Israel. They know what he can do. And they know the power that he has when we're connected with him. And it scares them to death. That's why they pay millions, not millions, billions of dollars to keep us stupid and on the brain level of children. Because they know if these Negroes wake up and call on their God, we are finished. And they know it too. Verse 4. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. And the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. And the people spake against God and against Moses. Wherefore have ye brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness. Remember that insanity that I was talking about in the previous chapter? Here it is. Doing the same thing the same way, expecting a different outcome. It says, for there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. What wasn't even appreciative of the manna that the Lord gave him? We loathe this light bread. I'm telling you, man, Israel is something else. Verse 6. This time the Lord didn't even do no talking. It says, and the Lord sent fire, meaning poisonous serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. So he sent poisonous serpents among Israel, killed they behind. And you know why he was able to send them serpents? They in the wilderness. That's what's in the wilderness, serpents. So that lets you know this whole time the Lord kept these poisonous snakes away from them, and they didn't even realize it. They didn't realize when they was in the wilderness, just like we in the land of my enemies, all we had to do was call for these dangerous elements in this wilderness to come get Israel, and they'll be finished. But it was the Lord holding back these poisonous serpents, these snakes. That's why our people, they're not wise. They don't understand the Lord, because you are in the land of your captivity. And if you keep playing with the Lord, he gonna call these fiery serpents, called the heathen, your enemies, who you are among, to come and bite you. You don't do what I say, you won't listen to me, I'm gonna call these serpents, called the heathen, to come and bite your behind. So our people, when they was in the wilderness, hey, that was an allegory. That was a parable for us today, brothers and sisters, in a lot of ways. But we're going to keep reading. Verse 7. Therefore the people came to Moses when they was all bit up and poisoned, and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord. And that's why the Lord, see, that right there is why the Lord brought the serpents, so they can repent and acknowledge and confess that they have sinned against the Lord. Well, it's the same way with our enemies. That's why we're here in this captivity. So that way, when the children of Israel is getting their head, the women and the men and the children, when they getting their head busted to the white meat, flapping all around, they will then come to the Lord and say, Lord, we have sinned. We acknowledge that we have transgressed against you, that we have served other gods and not you. We have not been living. We ain't been living right. That's why the Lord bring the enemy. And in this case, these fiery serpents. So they're acknowledging we have sinned, for we have sinned against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, see, I'm not going to just take them away, black man and black woman. The Lord said unto Moses, make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, he shall live. So Moses, I want you to make this serpent that's made of brass. You find that out in verse 9. I want you to pull it. I want you to put it on a pole, and I want you to raise it up. And every Israelite that look upon it, hey, they're going to be healed. They're going to live. Well, what about the Israelites that don't want to look at the brazen serpent on the pole? What if they don't believe that's going to do it and they choose not to look? Then guess what? They're going to die. And I'm pretty sure you can see the parable in that. Verse 9. And Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon the pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. And like I said, we know that that is a parable, brothers and sisters, for what? Jesus. Let's go to John 3. The book of John 3. John 3. We're going to read John's letter. John 3, and I'm going to read verses 14 and 15. It says, this is what Jesus is saying. This is what the master is saying about himself. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, that's why Jesus said, search the scriptures, because in them you think you have life. He said, but hey, they speak of me. You better get from up under that law of Moses and come up under Christ if you want to live. But Jesus said, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth or looketh up to this brazen serpent or up to Christ, whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. And you know what you're poisoned with, brothers and sisters? You're poisoned with sin. And there is no work that you can do to get this sin off of you. There is no amount of Sabbath days you can keep. There's not enough dietary law that you can keep. There's not enough feast days you can keep. None of that is going to get the sting or the bite of sin off of you, which is going to lead to death. The only thing that's going to get that bite, that sting off of you is Christ. That's the only thing that's going to get it off of you. There is nothing there is no work you can do to get it off of you. Even the children of Israel in the wilderness, they could have did all kind of stuff. They could have got a leech off the ground and put the leech on the part where the snake bit to try to suck the poison out. It still wouldn't have did nothing for them. They could have tried to suck the poison out of each other, because you know how some of these hunters and stuff, they try to suck the poison out of somebody who was bitten, and spit the poison out that they sucked out. They could have did all that, all they wanted to. They could have performed all them works and it wouldn't have done nothing for them. The only way they was going to live, brothers and sisters, they had to look at that brazen serpent. And guess what? That brazen serpent that was made and put on that pole and lifted up, that was a gift from God. Israel didn't do anything to earn that. God decided, you know what? I'm going to heal them. I'm going to bring them deliverance. I'm going to bring them a Messiah that they can believe on to get this sin off of them. It's real simple, brothers and sisters. It really is. But I don't want to stay on that all day, because I want to stay in Numbers. All right. Let me get some more of this. Now, verse 10. So back to Numbers 21. And I'm going to read verse 10. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in Oboth. And they journeyed to Oboth and pitched at Jebarium in the wilderness which is before Moab, toward the sun rising. From thence they removed. And Moab, Ammon, and Edom, them was the three lands that the Lord told the children of Israel, I'm not giving you their land, okay? So don't try to steal it from them, because you ain't going to get it from them. Because I gave that to them for an inheritance, a possession, okay? Anyway, verse 12. From thence they removed and pitched in the valley of Zered. From thence they removed and pitched on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that cometh out of the coast of the Amorites. For Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Wherefore it is said in the book of Wars, wait a minute, there's a book of Wars, Wherefore it said in the book of Wars of Hudo, the Lord, not the book of the Israelites, not the book of Moses, not the book of Aaron, Miriam, the book of the wars of the Lord, because the children of Israel didn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing for themselves. The Lord delivered them, brothers and sisters. What he did in the Red Sea and in the brooks of Arnon, and at the stream of the brooks that goeth down to the dwelling of Ar, and lieth upon the border of Moab. And from thence they went to Beer, that is the well whereof the Lord spake unto Moses, gather the people together, and I will give them water. And so I like how it had a book of everything that the Lord had done for the children of Israel, called the Book of Wars. So there was no excuse for Israel's unbelief, because that book right there showed them was a catalog of everything the Lord had done for us. This right here, y'all, it's not only just our history, our past, present, and future, but this is a catalog of everything the Lord has done for our people, how he delivered us in our greatest times of trouble. So if anything, in 2024, our people have no reason to be in unbelief. Absolutely no reason to be in unbelief. Now, let's keep reading. Verse 17. Then Israel sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing ye unto it. The princes digged the well, the nobles of the people digged it, by the direction of the lawgiver with their staves. And from the wilderness they went to Matana, and from Matana to Naleel, and from Naleel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth in the valley, that is in the country of Moab, to the top of Pisgah, which looketh toward Jeshimon. And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through thy land. We will not turn into the fields or into the vineyards. We will not drink of the waters of the well, but we will go along the king's highway until we be past thy borders. 23. And Sihon would not suffer Israel to pass through his border, but Sihon gathered all his people together. And that's the right thing to do. You don't let no enemies come through your land and through your house and all of these places where your wives and your children are. So that's understandable. So it says, and they went out against Israel in the wilderness, and he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel smote him with the edge of the sword. They did not prosper. Why? Because the children of Israel the God of Israel was with them. And possessed his land from Arnon into Jabbok, even unto the children of Ammon. For the border of the children of Ammon was strong. Why? Because the Lord would not give them that land. That was Ammon's possession. 25. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and in all the villages thereof. Okay? For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, even unto Arnon. Wherefore, they that speak in Proverbs say, Come into Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and prepared. For there is a fire going out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It hath consumed all of Moab, and the lords of the high places of Arnon. Woe to thee, Moab, thou art undone. O people of Chemosh, and Chemosh, remember, that was the false god that the Moabites worshiped. He hath given his sons that escaped and his daughters into captivity unto Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have shot at them. Heshbon is perished, even unto Dibon, and we have laid them waste, even unto Napha, which reacheth unto Medeba. 32. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. 32. And Israel sent to spy out Jazer, and they took the villages thereof and drove out the Amorites that were there. And they turned and went up by the way of Bashan. And Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, he and all his people, to the battle of Edrei. And the Lord said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hand. And see, brothers and sisters, that's what determines whether or not you get the victory. Not by how strong you are, or how weak the enemy is, or how strong the enemy is and how weak you are. No, it's determined by who the Lord say gonna win. That's who's going to win. And that's what we don't understand, brothers and sisters. That's why the Lord say, you need to believe in me, because I reign supreme over this earth. Whatever I say goes, and can't nobody do a damn thing about it. Don't let this fourth beast, which is run by the Europeans, don't let them make you think that they almighty and omnipotent and they're unstoppable, because they can't do nothing. At this point in time, they are destroyed with power. How you got power, but you destroyed? Think about that. Because you know why? The Lord decide all of this stuff. He is the ultimate factor in anything that goes on this earth, brothers and sisters. That's why when you have an issue, you need to present it to the Lord, not to a man, because a man cannot do anything about your situation. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and finish out the rest of this, and then we'll be done. So the Lord said, I have delivered him into thy hand, middle of 34, and all his people and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Sihon of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. And they smote him and his sons and all his people, until there is none left alive. And they possessed his land. Okay? And that is it for that, brothers and sisters. I hope you guys got some understanding, and I will see you in the next chapter. Shalom.